and thank you for taking the time to watch this Adult Sport and Protection Learning and Development briefing. This session introduces the National Multi-Agency Framework for Adult Sport and Protection, which sets out consistent guidance for training across Scotland. The framework applies to all staff and volunteers who may work with adults, and it is structured into tiers depending on roles and responsibilities. The key message throughout this presentation is that adult sport and protection is everyone's responsibility, although some roles may carry additional duties, which we will go on to discuss in this presentation. On this slide, we're going to introduce the purpose of the Adult Sport and Protection Learning and Development Framework. So this is the first national multi-agency framework designed to support consistent adult sport and protection learning across Scotland. It was developed between 2023 and 2025 through wide-scale consultation, including national discussions, working groups, and feedback from across the workforce itself. The framework is intended to support learning and development staff, leaders and managers, as well as anyone involved in workforce development. It's also designed to be flexible and can be used along existing single agency frameworks, helping to ensure that staff at every level have access to the right training for their role. Ultimately, it sets out key learning requirements needed for staff to carry out their roles effectively, while also providing clear guidance for both the workforce and those supporting their development. This slide here provides an overview of a 7-minute briefing on the National Adult Sport and Protection Learning and Development Framework. The framework was developed by the Scottish Government following a 2023 workforce survey, which highlighted the need for greater clarity and consistency around adult sport and protection training. It's designed to support improved national consistency in learning and development across all organisations working with adults. The framework applies to all staff and volunteers and is structured into 5 workforce levels, from the wider workforce through to general, specific, intensive and then council officer roles. This tiered approach helps ensure that training is appropriate to each role and that everyone's getting the correct training for their role. There is also a wide range of resources available to support this implementation, including local training programmes, partnerships and online materials such as the ASP Hub, which in other words is called the Aspire Hub. Importantly, this framework aligns with other national learning frameworks, including the Child Protection Framework, allowing organisations to take a joined-up approach to workforce development. Overall, the aim is to make sure that everyone understands their role in adult sport and protection and has access to the right learning to carry out their jobs effectively. As you can see, this slide builds on the national framework by giving a clearer, practical view of how workforce levels might look in reality. While the framework sets out these 5 workforce levels, it doesn't prescribe exactly which roles fit into each category. So what we've done here in Falkirk is we've mapped out some typical examples to help bring the model to life and support understanding across services. So if we start from the bottom, the wider workforce, this includes roles that might come into occasional contact with the public, while the general workforce includes more public-facing roles. As we move up, the specific and intensive workforce includes staff that more directly work with adults at risk, with increasing responsibilities around assessment, planning and support. At the top, we have council officers who lead and coordinate adult sport and protection processes. It's important to note that this is not an exhaustive list, and some roles might sit across more than one level depending on their responsibilities. The aim is to simply provide a clearer guide to help staff, managers, everyone understand where they fit within this framework and what learning they might need around adult sport and protection. We have also built our new adult sport and protection training calendar around this framework. So if you're not sure, you can go onto the practitioner pages and have a look for yourself as to where you might fit and what training is around for you and is relevant to your role. So how will we implement the framework within Falkirk? These are some of the actions that have been agreed through the Learning and Development Subgroup for Adult Sport and Protection. And this is to support a structured and consistent rollout. To begin with, this video presentation will serve as the official launch of the framework. Alongside this, we have developed supporting materials such as infographics and posters, which partner agencies can use to raise awareness. We already have designed the Adult Support and Protection Training Calendar to better align with the framework and the workforce levels, and this can be found on the practitioner pages. A key part of the implementation will be embedding 7-minute briefings within teams and helping staff to understand their role in a simple and accessible way. These can be sent out around teams and will be added to the practitioner pages for people to have a look at. Finally, we will review and update existing training to ensure that it reflects workforce responsibilities, remains practical and relevant, and is continuously evaluated for improvement. Overall, this approach is about making the framework meaningful in practice and supporting staff to apply it confidently in their roles. So, what does this mean for us in terms of improvement expectations? Firstly, it'll support greater consistency and standardisation in learning across all workforce levels. It will also ensure that training is clearly aligned to job roles, using the defined workforce levels to guide what learning is actually required. We'll also have a more structured and consistent model for learning and development expectations, making it clearer as to what is actually required at each level. Another important benefit is improved data and reporting, allowing us to track learning across the workforce groups and better understand the impact. There will be a stronger focus on evaluating training effectiveness, ensuring that it remains relevant and high quality for each workforce level. For senior leaders, this provides assurance that staff are trained appropriately for their roles. And for staff, it means clearer expectations, particularly when moving into new or promoted posts. And finally, tools like the Aspire Hub will help align national learning with local delivery, supporting consistency across organisations and partnerships. Overall, these improvements are about making learning more targeted, transparent and effective across the workforce, and also in line with other partnerships. So in this next slide, as you can see, we have just used one of the 7-minute briefings that we have created. This one is for the specific workforce level, and there's one of these for each of the workforce levels to give a little bit more in-depth detail as to what that means for that workforce level within a 7-minute briefing. So we've included why it matters, who the specific workforce are, obviously not limited to these roles, the key learning requirements as highlighted in the Learning and Development Framework, what the specific workforce should be able to do in line with the Learning and Development Framework, and in this case, within the specific workforce level, they should be able to recognise an adult at risk, respond accordingly, record accurately, report to the relevant person, and support the adult at risk and their family, and advocate on behalf of the adult at risk of harm. The skills required for this role, and also the training requirements, and also where to find more learning and training. As I say, there is one of these for each of the workforce levels, which you will be able to find soon on the practitioner pages. I would now just like to share one of the trainings that we have recently revamped in line with this new framework. The first training that we used almost as a guinea pig was the public protection training. And we made sure to do an evaluation at the beginning and at the end of the training. Now, we used this as a first try to utilise the Learning and Development Framework in practice and took into account what the framework said around the workforce levels, what they needed to know and why. We ensured that this particular training was aimed at the general and specific workforce who would likely be working on a one-to-one supportive basis with adults. We focused the training based on the 6 key areas required of the workforce. So as you can see, recognise, respond, record, report, support and advocate. We ensured that everyone on the training was within these workforce levels and either directed those who weren't to other training or made them aware that the training was aimed at this level and therefore it might not have significant relevance to their role. The positive thing about public protection is that it aligns with most people's roles, so we didn't have too much of an issue with this. So what we did is we revamped the training to ensure that it was delivered exactly in line with exactly what the Learning and Development Framework highlighted in terms of the workforce's responsibility, focusing on giving them practical support, how to escalate concerns if need be, and I think prior training focused more on the theory, whereas we created this training to be more in line with the new framework, which directed us to provide practical training on how to escalate concerns appropriately, ensured that everyone knew what their responsibility was in relation to their role. And as you can see here, pre-training, the first one that we rolled out, there was 38% that were extremely not confident when we asked how confident they felt within their role, recognising and responding and reporting concerns regarding an adult at risk. So after the training, we also asked a similar question about how clear people were about their professional responsibilities in safeguarding, reporting and escalating concerns regarding adults at risk. And as you can see here, we're pretty successful and people felt that they were very clear on their professional responsibilities, which is exactly what we set out to do, and it's fantastic to see. And I thought it'd be important to add in some of the feedback that we got on the back of implementing this revamped training in line with the development framework. So someone had said that they were pretty new to adult protection and they gathered a lot of information that they didn't know about, and they now know what to do if they encounter adult support protection, which is great. Everything was really relevant, which is fantastic because that's exactly what we set out to do. We set out to make sure that all the training, everything that was within the training was very relevant to a person's job role. And it was good to hear that also that the training was really detailed for their job. We also asked what part of this training will most influence your practice. And what interested me was that some delegates felt that the best part of the training was the practical solutions, like where to locate forms, receiving links for further training, and links to things that maybe they wouldn't have known about otherwise. People said that hearing from other agencies were really positive for them, and it was noticed that people have acknowledged that there was more practical elements to the training. So that was just a short whistle-stop tour on the Learning and Development Framework with a little bit of snippets of the work that we are doing behind the scenes in order to try and embed this new framework within practice. If you can, please have a look at the Irish Aspire Hub. It has so much valuable resources on it. We also have our own practitioner pages that has the whole adult support and protection calendar. We also have our multi-agency training calendar, and we would love to see everyone attending more training around this. And if there is any training needs that anyone has, please do not hesitate to contact the social services training email to request any training that you think might be useful for your development. We always want to make sure that we are supporting people to develop as much as they can. And if there's any other questions about the Learning and Development Framework, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you all soon at training. Thanks. Bye bye.